Hi, welcome back to Cartoon Network Escapes. This vlog is from April when we took a little trip to York to celebrate Charminder's birthday. It takes about 4 hours to get to York from Colchester and takes about 3 or 4 trains. This is honestly one of those journeys where you can just sit back, watch the fields roll past, and suddenly, boom, you're pulling into one of the most historic cities in the UK. York is packed with stories about Vikings, Romans, and even has Harry Potter vibes. In this vlog, I'll show you what we got up to and maybe give you a few ideas for your own trip. We'll be exploring some of York's highlights from the National Railway Museum and the famous Shambles to Clifford's Tower, the River Ouse, York Minster and the medieval city walls. Like I said before, York is full of history, surprises and quirky little corners. So let's get started. First stop after stepping off the train was the National Railway Museum, the world's largest railway collection. And the best part? Entry is completely free, though they encourage donations. It's one of those places that's way more impressive than you expect. The main hall is absolutely massive, with legendary locomotives like the Mallard, which still holds the world speed record for steam trains, the London to Paris night ferry, and even the Shinkansen, Japan's bullet train. I'm only giving you a little taste here because I've got a full video planned just on this museum. It really deserves one. So click the bell icon to be notified when the video is posted. We then went to our hotel, took a little rest, and walked along the high street but didn't do much because we were tired. But the next day, we wandered into the Shambles, probably the most famous street in York. It's one of the best preserved medieval shopping streets in the world, and honestly, it feels like walking straight into a film set. Back in the day, this was actually a street of butchers. So imagine meat hanging from the hooks and blood running through open channels on the street. Not exactly the kind of place you'd want to wander back then, right? But despite its pretty dark past, people have admired the Shambles' narrow lanes and crooked timber-framed buildings for centuries. Unfortunately, when we visited, there was quite a bit of scaffolding up, so we couldn't fully soak in the atmosphere. But even then, you can still feel the history in every corner. The Shambles are said to have inspired Diagon Alley, and when you walk past shops like the Potion's Cauldron or the shop that must not be named, you can definitely see why. These streets are totally free to walk, but go early morning or late evening if you want to avoid the large crowds. If you're wondering why I recorded this, it's not because of the Gregs, but because of Golden Fleece right next to it, which is the most haunted pub in England, they say. And if you pop into Shambles Market just around the corner, you'll find loads of stalls selling gifts, fresh flowers, handmade crafts, handbags, and a diverse range of street food options. Now here's something fun. This teeny tiny street is called Whip-Ma-Whop-Ma-Gate. Yeah, that is the real name. One theory is that it means something like neither one thing nor the other, which is kind of perfect for a street this small. It's literally York's shortest street, just 3 properties long. While we were exploring Goodram Gate, we came across a little shop called Ouse Adventures, where you could pay about £5 to hold an owl. Honestly, it didn't sit right with me. The owls looked uncomfortable, and it felt more about money than welfare. So we didn't do it. We just felt sorry and left. But a couple of days later, I read that after public backlash and a petition, they actually stopped keeping live birds there. It made me realize that travel is not just about sightseeing. It's about being mindful that animals deserve safe spaces and shouldn't be put on display just for us. Alright, next we headed to Clifford's Tower. This is one of York's most iconic landmarks, sitting on a mound overlooking the city. It was originally built by William the Conqueror in the 11th century. The views from the top are fantastic. You can see the Minster, the walls, and the snaking streets below. It also has a darker history. In 1190, it was the site of a tragic massacre of York's Jewish community. I'll be doing a full deep dive video just on Clifford's Tower soon, so stick around for that, and again, click the bell icon to be notified. Next up, we slowed things down with a cruise on the River Ouse. Tickets were £16 each for a 45-minute daytime trip, and you get a live commentary as you go. It's such a relaxing way to see the city. Bridges overhead, wildlife along the banks, and little stories you wouldn't hear just walking around. The boats depart from King's Staithe or London Bridge. I hope I pronounced that correctly. A good tip would be to sit upstairs on the open deck if the weather is nice. Of course, no trip to York is complete without York Minster, so that's where we headed the next day. This is the largest Gothic cathedral in Northern Europe, more than 1,000 years old, and honestly seems jaw-dropping inside, but we couldn't do the tour unfortunately. The stained glass windows are incredible. The Great East window is actually the size of a tennis court. It's the largest medieval stained glass window in the world. Tickets are £20 for the Minster only and £26 for the Minster and Central Tower, but your ticket usually lets you return free for a whole year. And then, completely randomly, I bumped into Paddington just outside York Minster. Honestly, I wasn't expecting to see him, but it kind of made the day even more special. Right outside the front of York Minster, you'll also find a statue of Emperor Constantine. It marks the spot where, back in 306 AD, he was declared Emperor of the Western Roman Empire by his troops here in York. Now, York Minster isn't just about soaring stone and stained glass. It also has its own official cat called Donald. But when I went to York Minster, I learned that Donald's retired and there's a new cat who has taken up the post. To my luck, after walking by every day hoping to spot them, I actually saw both of them together in the house near the Minster. A pretty perfect York moment. Our trip with a walk along York's city walls. Escaping police. A lot more to go. I'm now resting.
Resting which face?
That's my face. These walls stretch for about 3.4 kilometers, making them the longest medieval city walls in England. Best of all, they're free to walk and open pretty much every day from dawn till dusk. It's one of the best ways to take in York. Looking down on the streets, catching glimpses of the Minster, and feeling like you've stepped back through centuries of history. York's story with walls goes way back to the Romans, who arrived around 71 AD. They first built ramparts around their military base and later around the settlement that grew on the far side of the River Ouse. You can still see parts of those Roman walls today, and much of the rest survives in the earth beneath the city's current ramparts. Over the centuries, York changed hands. The Anglians, then the Vikings in the 9th century, and the Normans in the 11th. By then, the original Roman walls had crumbled, but new earthworks and defenses took their place. About 900 years ago, in the Middle Ages, the stone walls seen today were built, mainly as protection against the Scots. Later, as cannons made medieval defences less effective, the walls were still reinforced during the English Civil War in the 1640s, when they were attacked and damaged, but quickly repaired after York surrendered. Fast forward to about 200 years ago, and people were debating whether the walls should be torn down altogether to open up the city. In the end, the Victorians reached a compromise, knocking through a few arches for roads, but restoring most of the walls and opening them up as a public walkway, much as we know them today. Archaeologists are still refining the timeline of York's walls, with new discoveries suggesting some of the Roman stonework is even earlier than once thought. What's certain though is that York's walls are one of the most complete and fascinating city defences left in England. York was no doubt a mix of giant trains, tiny streets, grand cathedrals and riverside calm. And the best part? Everywhere you go, there's a story waiting. We've barely scratched the surface, but that's the beauty of a city like this. There's always a reason to come back. And as if York hadn't already surprised me enough, on the train journey home, we actually met two of the cutest little ferrets. Totally unexpected way to end the trip. But that's travel for you. You never quite know what's around the corner. If you enjoyed this, hit like and subscribe. I've got deep dives on Clifford's Tower and the Railway Museum coming up next. Catch you later. Bye!